Welcome to How Cool Is That? The show where we explore the people, inventions, and ideas that are shaping our world. I'm your host, and every episode we'll uncover how curiosity and creativity can change everything. Now let's jump in. Picture this, a world where cartoons don't talk, where theme parks don't exist, where families have nowhere magical to go together. Hard to imagine, right? That world almost existed until one dreamer with a pencil and an unstoppable imagination changed everything forever. One man didn't just create Mickey Mouse, he invented childhood wonder itself. Today, we'll follow Walt Disney from a farm kid who loved to draw to the man who built actual magic kingdoms and taught the world that dreams really can come true. Walt Disney was born in 1901 in Chicago, but grew up on a farm in Missouri. From the moment he could hold a pencil, he was drawing animals, people, anything that moved. His neighbors would actually pay him nickels for his little sketches. Imagine getting paid to doodle. But here's what made Walt different. He didn't just want to draw pictures. He wanted to make them move. He would flip through the pages of his sketchbooks, watching his drawings come alive frame by frame. This was way before computers, before tablets, before anything we know today. Walt was basically inventing animation in his bedroom. School wasn't really Walt's thing. He'd rather be drawing than doing math homework. Sound familiar? His teachers didn't always appreciate his doodles in the margins, but Walt kept at it anyway. Here's something to think about. What do you love doing so much that you'd rather do it than anything else? For Walt, it was bringing drawings to life. What's your thing? When Walt was just 16, he lied about his age to join the Red Cross and drive ambulances in World War I. But even there, he covered his ambulance with cartoon drawings. The guy just couldn't stop creating. After the war, Walt was determined to make a living from animation. He started his first company in Kansas City with a friend. They called it Laugh-O-Gram Studio. Sounds fun, right? Well, it failed. Completely. Walt went broke. He was so poor, he ate cold beans from a can and lived in his office. Sometimes he caught mice in his studio, and instead of being annoyed, he'd study how they moved so he could animate them better. Talk about finding inspiration everywhere. But Walt wasn't done dreaming. In 1923, with just $40 in his pocket, that's like $600 today, he hopped on a train to Hollywood. His brother Roy was already there, and together they started the Disney Brothers studio in their uncle's garage. Sound familiar? Just like Steve Jobs, Walt started his empire in a garage. Maybe there's something magical about garages. The early days were tough. Walt and Roy took turns sleeping on cushions in the office. They'd work all day, animating, then sleep where they worked. Walt was learning that big dreams often start with small, uncomfortable beginnings. In 1928, Walt was on a train to New York when inspiration struck. He started sketching a cheerful little mouse, ears like circles, big smile, red shorts. He originally wanted to call him Mortimer Mouse, but his wife Lillian said that sounded too stuffy. "What about Mickey?" she suggested. That suggestion changed history. But Mickey wasn't an instant hit. Walt's first Mickey Mouse cartoons were silent, just like all movies back then. Then Walt had a crazy idea. What if Mickey could talk? What if the cartoon had sound that matched perfectly with the action? People told him it was impossible, too expensive, too complicated. Walt didn't care. He spent everything he had on this wild experiment called Steamboat Willie. When it premiered, audiences gasped. They'd never seen anything like it, a cartoon that moved perfectly with music and sound effects. Suddenly, everyone wanted Mickey Mouse. Walt had created the world's first true cartoon star. Quick pause. Have you ever had an idea that seemed impossible, but you really wanted to try it anyway? Walt's entire career was built on impossible ideas that turned out to be exactly what the world needed. By the 1930s, Walt wasn't satisfied just making cartoons. He wanted to tell bigger stories. So he spent years creating the first full-length animated movie, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Hollywood called it Disney's folly. Who would sit through 90 minutes of cartoons? Kids would get bored. Adults would never take it seriously. When Snow White premiered in 1937, grown men in the audience were crying. The movie made more money than almost any film that year. Walt had just invented a new art form. But even that wasn't enough for Walt. He had even bigger dream. A place where families could step inside his stories, where parents and kids could have adventures together. He called it Disneyland. Everyone thought Walt had lost his mind. Theme parks were just cheap carnival rides and cotton candy. Walt envisioned something completely different. Immersive worlds where stories came alive. A place where fairy tales felt real. Banks wouldn't loan him money. Who's going to drive all the way to Orange County to see cartoon characters, they asked. Walt sold his life insurance policy. He borrowed against his house. He even started a TV show just to raise funds. Finally, on July 17, 1955, Disneyland opened its gates. It was chaos. The asphalt was so fresh that women's high heels sunk into it. Rides broke down. There weren't enough drinking fountains. Walt called it Black Sunday. But something magical happened anyway. Families walked through those gates and discovered wonder. Kids met Mickey Mouse in person. Adults remembered what it felt like to believe in magic. Within months, Disneyland was the most popular destination in America. Walt had literally built dreams into reality. Walt Disney didn't just create entertainment. He created a new way of thinking about what's possible. Before Walt, animation was just funny drawings. After Walt, it became an art form that could make you laugh, cry, and believe in magic. Before Walt, theme parks were just rides. After Walt, they became immersive worlds where stories came alive. But here's what's really amazing. Walt never stopped being that curious kid who wanted to make drawings move. Even when he was famous, even when he was running a huge company, he still carried a sketchbook everywhere. He still got excited about new ideas. Walt Disney once said, "All our dreams can come true if we have the courage to pursue them." Think about that for a second. He didn't say dreams come true if you're smart enough or rich enough or talented enough. He said if you have the courage to pursue them. So here's what we can learn from Walt Disney. Lesson 1. Start where you are. Walt began with nickels for neighborhood sketches. You don't need fancy equipment to start creating. Lesson 2. Failure is just practice. Every time Walt failed, he learned something that made the next dream bigger. Lesson 3. Impossible is just the starting point. If everyone says it can't be done, you might be onto something amazing. Lesson 4. Never stop being curious. Walt kept that childlike wonder his whole life. That's what made his dreams feel magical to everyone else. The next time you're doodling in your notebook, visiting a theme park, or watching an animated movie, remember, it all started with a farm kid who refused to stop dreaming. And maybe, just maybe, your impossible dream could be the next one that changes the world. Walt Disney showed us that with enough imagination and courage, you really can build magic. So what's your impossible dream? Thanks for joining us on this journey into Walt Disney's world of wonder. Next time, we'll explore another dreamer who changed everything. Hit subscribe and let us know in the comments, whose story should we tell next?